many rare Pokemon in Pokemon Go, but a few of them are far more rare than the others. So in today's video, we're gonna go over some that are really difficult to get and some that may never come back. And before we dive into them, none of these are in any particular order, they're just very rare. Starting off this list, we have Armored Mewtwo, a Pokemon that we haven't seen in like 4 years, and honestly, I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. Armored Mewtwo was released in 2019 for the celebration of the Japanese remake of the original Pokemon movie. And the armor on the Mewtwo isn't exactly the same as the first movie, they definitely redid it, but I think it looks fantastic. It kind of looks like a Gundam and a Predator had a baby with a Pokemon or something. It's crazy, but it's a really interesting design. And something very unique about this Mewtwo, besides the fact that it's covered in armor, is that this is the only costume Pokemon that actually has different stats. You see, normal Mewtwo without all the armor is very attack weighted and very powerful, while the armored form here is more of a defensive Pokemon, so it's really good to use in Ultra League. And it also has completely different moves as well. Like normal Mewtwo can't learn Dynamic Punch, and this thing also gets Iron Tail. I do believe it gets Rock Slide as well. And technically, Armored Mewtwo has shown up twice. Originally, it did show up from July 10th all the way to July 31st of 2019, but then it came back in 2020 for Pokemon Day, which was February 25th. But ever since then, we have never seen a single Armored Mewtwo in a raid, and I really hope to see it again, because apparently there is a shiny in the code, and I would love to get a shiny Armored Mewtwo. The only downside is, I bet you anything, this one will not be able to Mega Evolve at all. And the reason why I say this is because of our next Pokemon. And those Pokemon will be the clone Pokemon. We've got Clone Venusaur, Clone Charizard, and Clone Blastoise. These again were released during Pokemon Day in 2020. And we also have a Clone Pikachu as well. As you can tell, the tips of the ears are a little bit more spiky than a normal Pikachu. And there was only 2 ways to get your hands on these Pokemon. The first one being raiding. If you wanted to get the Venusaur, the Charizard, or the Blastoise, you had to defeat them in raids and then catch them afterwards. But the Pikachu was even rarer because you had to get photo bombs with this one, so you only got so many encounters, while you could just raid to your heart's content with these guys. You only got a handful of photo bombs with this one, so having a hundo of this is extremely rare. And we've never seen these come back at any point past Pokemon Day, and I really hope in the future we will be able to get our hands on more of them, and it would be really interesting if they gave us shiny variants. Though I do kind of doubt that they would do that, it would be pretty neat. But going back to the Armored Mewtwo stuff, why I think that he won't be able to Mega Evolve is because none of these clone Pokemon can Mega Evolve. The cool thing about them is when you took them down in raids, they did come with their exclusive moves, but none of them are going to be able to Mega Evolve at any point. So it was definitely worth raiding them to get the exclusive moves, and they are kind of useful, but unfortunately they will never Mega. Our next Pokemon is going to be Pikachu Libre. The only way to get your hands on a Pikachu Libre is by hitting Legend in Pokemon Go Battle League. Though that isn't 100% correct, there are a few other ways to get your hands on these things. One, obviously, being trading. As you can tell, this one is lucky. But another way you could get your hands on it is that sometimes Pokemon Go works on its PvP system, and when they do that, they get rid of everything higher than level 20 in PvP, and once you hit level 20, you get to get a Pikachu Libre encounter. It's very rare. I think it's only happened like twice ever, but those are opportunities. So if you want to get your hands on one of these in the future and you learn about something like this happening, definitely go for it. And if you were curious, yes, this Pikachu Libre does have a shiny variant, though sadly I don't have one, but hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on one of them. It's believed that this Pikachu Libre has about a 1 in 20 odd rate of being shiny, or basically like a legendary raid. And it would make sense for it to have such a high shiny rate, because you can only hit legend once a season, so once every 3 months. And if it was anything higher than 1 in 20, nobody would ever have a shiny Pikachu Libre unless they just won the lottery. And staying with that Pikachu theme, we also have the Air Adventures Pikachus. These are Pikachus that only showed up in specific locations for Air Adventure events. I've been very fortunate and I've been able to go to almost every single one of them except for the Okinawa events, because unfortunately when this went live in Okinawa, Japan, it was during the global pandemic when we couldn't travel, especially to Japan. Japan was super shut down, so I got these luckily in trades. And I do believe, unfortunately, this Okinawa Pikachu isn't showing up anymore in Okinawa. The shirt Pikachus stay around for at least a year plus, kind of like a little incentive for you to come back and visit just in case you missed the event, so you could go there and get your hands on them. But even rarer then is the balloon Pikachus, because these only show up during the Air Adventures event. Sometimes they show up about a couple days beforehand and they're a little bit boosted, but once the Air Adventures event is over, they're just gone, and I don't know if we're ever going to get these balloon Pikachus back. But as you can see, we have every single one of them here. So I showed you the Okinawa ones. These are Taiwan's. Taiwan had the green balloons. It looked pretty nice. We also had the green shirt for Taiwan. This was specifically in Taipei, Taiwan. And if you go to Taipei, these are still showing up. I did see them earlier this year when I went back. Then we also have the Singaporean Pikachu, which I also believe should still be around because Singapore and Taiwan's events were like literally a month apart from each other. And these are the balloon balloons for it. Jeju balloons. This is in Jeju, South Korea. It's a little island off to the south of South Korea, and these will definitely be here because these are almost the most recent ones. But the most recent one now is actually the Batik Pikachu. This one specifically was caught in Bali, but there is a Pikachu's Indonesia journey going on right now where they're doing it in like 4 different locations in Indonesia. So obviously we have the Balinese ones here, but there's also going to be one in Surabaya that's literally happening this weekend. And then there's 2 unannounced ones, but I bet you anything Jakarta is going to get one, seeing that Jakarta is the main capital city of Indonesia, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to get it too. So these ones might not be as rare comparatively because they're going to show up at 4 separate events, but the rest of them, some of them are just gone forever, and some are going to be going away soon. And yet again, our next one is going to be a Pikachu, the PhD Pikachu, and this one is very difficult to get unless you live in a more rural area. Because the only way to get your hands on this thing is by winning 100 showcases, and you actually have to win them. You have to be first place. You can't be second or third or anything like that. You have to be first place. And I live in a very populated area, and I've only been able to make it to 68, which is not a bad number all in all, but I do know some people that have been able to get their Pikachus, which is really cool. But I do believe that their Pikachus are the glitched one. For some reason, there was a glitch with this PhD Pikachu where if you caught it within a certain period of time, it was guaranteed to have 12 attack, 13 defense, and 14 HP. Pokemon Go has since corrected this, and now you can get random IVs on them, but it is pretty interesting that that happened. Yeah, here's hoping we can get our hands on a PhD Pikachu in the future, because unfortunately some of these showcases have been just terrible for me. And now we're putting Pikachu aside for a little bit and going to Unown ? This is the rarest Unown out there right now, and it's honestly one of the rarest Pokemon in the game because this has only shown up once for the 2018 Go Fest in Chicago. It was with other Unowns as well, C-E-L-B and I believe, for Celebi, but ever since we've never had the Unown ? show up ever. If you traveled anywhere recently and you had some of these on you, people would give you anything for them so they could complete their Unown dexes. Now I should note that in the near future, these are not going to be nearly as rare as they were because of the 2024 in-person Go Fests in Sendai, Madrid, and New York. They're going to have Unown ? and they can be shiny as well. But literally for almost 6 years, this thing hasn't shown up a single other time other than a Go Fest in Chicago. So if you managed to get one of these in a trade or you got it in person, congrats, like this is honestly one of the rarest things, at least until the summer. And now we're diving back into the Pikachus with probably the rarest shiny costume Pokemon out there. This black-hatted Pikachu was part of some sort of special promotion way back in 2018. I think it was called the Thunderbolt Project, if I remember it correctly. It was some kind of clothing thing, kind of like how we had the Fendi stuff recently. But yeah, we had Pikachus everywhere with this black hat, and its shiny was a full-on shiny. There was no boost on it or anything like that. And it was only around for 2 days, for October 6th and October 7th. And then after that, we have never seen it again, and we probably will never see it ever again. Because this collaboration is long gone and over with, and they're probably not going to bring it back outside of some sort of special future thing. Like, nothing is ever set in stone. We may get this old stuff in the future at some point, but honestly, I don't know if we'd ever see this one again. Which is why I believe this to be probably the rarest shiny costume Pokemon in Pokemon Go. And of course, we're going to put the Galarian legendary birds on this list, but I do believe them to be not as rare as they used to be, mostly because they've been around since July 25th of 2022. I believe that's the date when the Daily Adventure Incense was released. And ever since, a lot of people have been able to get their hands on them. Some people have used their Master Balls on them. Some people have just gotten lucky and just caught them. Some people I know have gotten them off their Go Plus Pluses, which is just crazy. But they're still considerably rare because most of the time when you throw a ball at them, they break out and immediately run away. Though I've had some decent luck with them. I've caught 8 of them in total, though one of these Moltres was lucky traded to me, this one right here. But the rest of them were all caught by me, and I've yet to use any Master Balls on them. So I will say they are pretty rare, but at the same time, they've been out for a little while. They've never gone away or anything like that. You may go a few Daily Adventure Instances without seeing one. I remember my first one came after like a month or something like that, but I would say that they're still rare, but they're not as rare as some of the other stuff we've mentioned. But let me know in the comments down below if you've been able to get your hands on one of these things with or without the Master Ball. I'd love to know. And keeping with the bird theme, we have Lugia here, and you might be wondering, why do I put this Lugia on here? Well, you see, this Lugia is actually from the first ever Pokemon Go Fest. All the way back in 2017, we had our first ever Pokemon Go Fest, and it did not go well at all. There were connection issues, a lot of people couldn't play, a lot of people were very unhappy, and the plan was to have legendaries show up in the event space during this time for the first time ever as a big hype moment. But obviously that didn't go very well, so they decided to release legendaries worldwide, but every single legendary in the Chicago City area was a guaranteed catch once you defeated it. Didn't matter what the IVs were or anything like like that, as long as you hit the ball on there, you were guaranteed to get it. And that's what this Lugia is, and this is the only one I kept from that time because it was a 98%. But sadly, there is a rarer Lugia out there that I don't even have anymore because at the time I didn't really think about it, but Niantic actually gave us a Lugia. They put a Lugia in our accounts, which is the first and I believe the only time they have ever put a Pokemon into our accounts as an apology. And I also believe they gave us $100 worth of Pokecoins in their accounts as well to like say sorry for how badly the first event went. But if you have one of those Lugias that was just dropped in your account, congrats. That is probably the rarest Pokemon in the entire game because we have never had that ever again. I really wish that I had kept mine, but again, at the time I wasn't really thinking about it. I just saw the IVs and I was like, well, this is terrible, so I just got rid of it. But I do love that somebody did name theirs Apologia, and it was fantastic. And that's every Pokemon on the list that I've made for you today. Let me know in the comments down below, do you have any of them that I've shown you? If you don't have any of them, which one of them would you have wanted the most? Please, let me know. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button for me, show me some love, and if you're really enjoying the content and you want to see even more of it, I highly suggest this video over here. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.